Welcome to Front Porch Friday as we continue our series, The 7 Deadly Sins of Women. Well, today we're going to talk about deadly sin number 3. Now, what do all 7 of these 7 deadly sins have in common? Well, what they have in common is self. They are 7 deadly sins really of self, okay? We're just talking about me, myself, and I, okay? Because you see, these deadly sins of self are sins of self that prevent us from glorifying God, which is God's highest calling for our lives, is what it says in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 19 and 20, that we're to glorify God in our bodies, okay? That's God's great goal for your life. But listen, you cannot glorify God if you're going to glorify self, okay? Self is what will prevent you from glorifying God and from fulfilling His great goal for your life. Well, today we're going to look at this deadly sin of self, number 3, and it is this. It is self-importance. Self-importance. You know, last week we talked about that deadly sin number 2, self-love. Well, self-love says me, 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 doesn't it? We talked about that last week. And self-importance is a little similar to self-love, but it's different. And then it doesn't just say me, me, me. You know what it says? It says me first, okay? Me first. Self-importance has the need to be on top, okay? To be supreme, to be seen as someone who has a position that's higher than other people. It is a need to be important in the eyes of others, okay? It sometimes is demonstrated, and very often is demonstrated, as all of these are a lot of times, in our conversation skills. And self-importance is that need to name drop, okay? To let other people know who you know. Makes you feel more important. You know, people are talking about different things, and all of a sudden the conversation, you're going to steer it in a direction, or you're going to drop a name right there of somebody that you know, that you're friends with, that might impress them. That is that deadly sin of self-importance. See how important I am? I know him. I know her. Listen, self-importance. It can also be as you're having a conversation with somebody. Listen, I'm a grandmother, and I hear people talking about their grandkids, and I get all excited. You know what you want to do as a grandmother? You want to start just bragging on that grandkid, and sometimes you can cross a line into self-importance. You can sometimes with your own children and different things. You hear people talking about the college their child went to, and you want to tell them what college your child graduated from, okay? You want them to know that you've got a college graduate, and you want them to know what school they're in. Listen, it's just this little sin of self that just wants to be ooched above the other person that you're with, to be recognized as more important and more in a higher position than others. It says me first. But listen, it is the constant need as well then to be noticed or to be positioned so that others can see how important we are, okay? We vie for position. We want the title at the office, okay? We want the position at the church. We want to be recognized, okay? We want our name in that list there on that page, in that list of those who have given to a cause or whatever it is. It's a need then that we be noticed and positioned so that others can see how important we are, okay? Anonymity is not your thing if you have self-importance out there. Listen, it is a choice. It is a constant need to be noticed or positioned so that others will recognize how important you are. But it's also this. It's characterized by the choice to do good so that you'll look good. Listen, this deadly sin, at the heart of it, it motivates you to do good things so that you'll look good to other people. And that absolutely just is the wickedness basically of it all. It goes to the very motives and intentions of our heart. We don't just do good things to do good things, okay? And to serve the Lord and to be obedient to the Lord and to love others. No, we do it, and we're hoping we'll get noticed for doing it, okay? If self-importance is the deadly sin that it is, listen, when it begins to appeal to you, you'll see that even the things you do, you'll want to be recognized for what you do, okay? It's the choice to do good things so you'll look good. And that shows just the real inward side that only you and only the Lord can know. Do you do good things so you look good? Listen, that's self-importance, and it's a deadly sin of self. And finally, it is the opposite of Christ-like servanthood. It's the opposite of Christ-like servanthood. You know, Jesus said when the disciples were, when he was speaking to the disciples and to the multitudes, he said this, In Matthew 23, verse 11 and 12, the greatest among you must be a servant, okay? Must be a servant. But those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted, okay? The way up is the way down, is what Jesus was saying there, that the greatest among you must be a servant. But Jesus didn't just say that, he demonstrated that, didn't he? In John chapter 13, we see him on that last night that he spent with his disciples before he was crucified. And we see him get up from that table there, and where he's had the Last Supper, and he wraps himself with a towel, and he gets out a basin, and he begins to wash their feet. What was he showing them? Girls, he was showing them that he was a servant, okay? And he went to say this, and I love this passage in John chapter 13, verse 13. He says, you call me teacher, and you call me Lord, and you're right, for so I am. He's saying, listen, I am your master. I am your Lord. I am the one that is over you, he says. If I, then the Lord and teacher, washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I gave you an example that you should do as I did to you. Truly, truly, he says, I say to you, a slave is not greater than his master, and neither is the one who sent greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you're blessed if you do them. What he was doing, he said, is I was leaving an example for you to show you this, that listen, even though you may be the president of your company, even though you may be the leader in your church or whatever, listen, if you want to be like Christ, if you want to glorify God, you got to get over yourself, and you got to get over self-importance, because the type of leader that Christ wants you to be in every situation, the type of woman that God wants you to be in your home and in your church and in your office and in your neighborhood and around your family, listen, is a woman who is like he was, who was a servant. Listen, he had a position, but he didn't lord it over them. He showed them his humility as he served them. And listen, that's what you and I are to do as well. Well, next week we're going to talk about deadly sin number 4. But I would sure love to hear from you this week on the blog. So leave your comments. Let me know how the Lord's speaking to you. I do enjoy your testimony so much. And thanks so many of you for being so honest and sharing how the Lord is speaking to you here at Front Porch Friday. Listen, I will see you right here again next week on Friday. I'll meet you right back here for deadly sin number 4 in our series, The 7 Deadly Sins of Women. I love you, girl, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.